Sunday night, a senator running for re-election in Georgia attacked the President of the United States over sailors who have been stuck at sea for 9 months. It was a serious argument, and almost nobody is talking about it because of 2 words he added at the end.
See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
Who's Natalie? That's Natalie Harp. Officially, she's the executive assistant to the president, with a desk just outside the Oval Office. And unofficially, she's the president's ever-present source of constant good news, conduit to the outside world, and in the words of New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman, his human binky. She first came to Trump's attention in 2019 when she publicly credited the federal right to try law he signed with getting her experimental treatment for bone cancer that saved her life, or so she says. She's never offered proof or explained what medication that law got her, but it was enough to get her a speaking slot at the 2020 presidential Republican convention. That start turn at the convention led to a stint at One American News as an anchor. Then she joined the 2024 Trump campaign, where staff nicknamed her the human printer because she carried a portable printer everywhere so she could give Trump, who doesn't use computers, the hard copies he needed to read anything he wanted to read about himself. She also became one of a handful of staffers who can post to Trump's Truth Social account, a role once solely the job of Dan Scavino, the ex-golf caddy and longtime Trump aide who now runs the White House Personnel Office. She's ever present in the Oval Office, on Marine One, on Air Force One, and anywhere the president goes. But her proximity to Trump has not come without controversy. According to the New York Times, Harp's practice of leaving sycophantic notes around for the president to find attracted alarm from other aides and the Secret Service, with both groups trying, unsuccessfully, to keep some distance between her and Trump. They were rarely successful because of her own efforts. When she was left out of golf carts during his frequent golf trips, she would sprint across greens to keep up with his entourage. When there was no room in the SUVs taking him to his 2024 criminal trial in New York, she hopped in the cargo area of one vehicle. Sarah Matthews, a former first-term press aide who has since become a critic of the president, told CNN about one unsuccessful attempt to keep Harp and Trump apart during a stay at his New Jersey golf club. Matthews' account tracks closely with Regime Change, the book by Maggie Haberman and her colleague Jonathan Swan, in which they reported that the Secret Service came to treat Harp as a security consideration, and that some top Trump advisors, including his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, were quite unsettled by the level of access Trump was willing to give her. Here's what turned all of that into a campaign attack line. Last month, Trump left the NATO summit in Turkey, and he didn't take the plane everyone expected. Harp boarded a second aircraft with 2 other aides. The Secretary of State and the Treasury Secretary were left on what amounted to a decoy. The 2 other aides were Dan Scavino and Walt Nauta, otherwise known as Trump's former classified documents co-defendant, now Director of Oval Office Operations. The plane in question is the converted Qatari luxury jet the Pentagon accepted as a gift last year, the so-called Flying Palace. It was defenseless, in Ossoff's telling, because it did lack, and still does lack, the countermeasures that the older Air Force One aircraft have. Now, this next part matters, so let me be precise about it. Ossoff did not allege an affair. There is no reporting that Trump and Natalie Harp have a romantic relationship, and nobody has produced evidence of one. What the senator did was put the president and a female staffer in a sentence with the words "travel with" and "there," and then let the audience at the rally finish the thought for him, which is a choice. And it's the choice Republicans went after. They hit back on one word: sexist. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida called Ossoff's remarks sexist and misogynistic, writing that attractive women can be qualified, hard workers, and in positions of power. Georgia Republican Party Chair Josh McCoon called Ossoff's quip the definition of a sexist cheap shot. And both he and former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, a prominent Georgia Republican, demanded that Ossoff apologize. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, formerly a New York congressman, called Harp incredibly hardworking, talented, principled, and loyal. And White House officials said that people within the White House were universally disgusted at the double standard Democrats have for working women. But things got a little bit more combative with official White House spokespeople. Assistant Press Secretary Davis Ingle referred to Ossoff as a feminine theater kid and a lightweight, while Communications Director Stephen Chung went even further on X with insults that we're not going to read out here. And even a few Democrats didn't have good things to say about Ossoff's quip. David Axelrod, once Barack Obama's chief strategist, said that Ossoff's invocation of the words
travel with Natalie
were gratuitous. Asked about the senator's comments in the Oval Office on Monday, Trump repeated a quip about Ossoff.
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike? No, I would much rather do other things. We're building a great facility here. We're fixing a White House that hasn't been taken care of. You can look at this. This room was a disgraceful situation in the Oval Office.
And Ossoff, during an appearance on MS Now, didn't repeat the line when he was asked about it by former White House press secretary and current MS Now host Jen Psaki.
The commander-in-chief has mired us in this geopolitical disaster. People have lost their lives. Our naval logistics are frayed. The global energy system is in crisis. And he retreats into this bubble of West Wing aides who are his security blanket to make him feel good about himself.
That might have been a bit of a cleanup, but he still hasn't apologized. Ossoff's dust-up with the White House doesn't seem to have fazed the Georgia senator, who remains a powerhouse fundraiser for Democrats and continues to draw crowds to these weekend rallies where he invariably says something that manages to go viral. So this whole thing may have given him exactly what he wanted, just the right amount of attention to raise his profile and get people talking about another one of the president's idiosyncrasies.